Welcome to Maranatha Ministries. I am your host, Matthew Miller. I hope you all have been enjoying this live broadcast that I've been doing over the past couple of days. Once again, just like yesterday, I just got home from work and the sun is not yet down, and I'm just driven by the Spirit to cry out to you to at least consider that the Bible, God's holy word, is true. And I cry out to you that if this message edifies you, that you like, share, and subscribe, and thereby taking the fruit that I have bore with this message and multiplied it unto you. So, let's get started. The birth of the children of Israel and the rapture. So, just take note, this is about a pre-trib event, and we're going to discuss exactly what happened from Exodus chapter 14. We can't read the whole thing, I just don't have time to do that. So we're going to pick it up in verse 19. But take note, this is what happens. From the moment that Pharaoh there at the Red Sea was going to wipe them out as they were camped in front of the Red Sea with nowhere to go. It was then that God does what he's going to do. Take note, write this down in Daniel chapter 7, verse 22. This is described in Revelation in the sixth seal. This is the Ancient of Days, Daniel says. This is he who sitteth upon the throne, John says. So let's go back. Let's remember exactly what happened. So we're right here. The Red Sea's not parted yet. That doesn't happen till the next morning. What about that night? This is how it happened from the New King James Version. And the angel of God who went before the camp of Israel moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud went before them and stood behind them. So it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. Thus it was a cloud and darkness to one, and it gave light by night to the other, so that the one did not come near the other all night. Take note. The abomination of desolation has happened. You have fled to the wilderness. Wherever you're at, Revelation 12 says you're going to flee. Once the abomination of desolation is set up, I'll just come out and tell you. I'm just going to come out and tell you that this is the difference between the 1,290 days and the 1,013 and 35 days. That's the difference. This is those 45 days difference. You are going to be camped at the Red Sea. You're going to be right at the precipice of the Great Tribulation for 45 days. Then God gets involved. Now, like I said, I started in verse 19. I didn't have time to read the first 18 verses because there's so much for you to see here. So let's go to verse 21. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. So the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. This is the birth process. The water has been broken, and the children of Israel is being born through the sea. Now this is beyond contestation, as we'll see in our next video. Verse 23, and the Egyptians pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. Now it came to pass in the morning watch that the Lord looked down upon the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and cloud. And he troubled the army of the Egyptians. Boy, that's a wonderful way to put it. He troubled them, praise God. Verse 25, and he took off their chariot wheels so that they drove them with difficulty. And the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea, that the waters may come back upon the Egyptians, on their chariots, and on their horsemen. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and when morning appeared, the sea returned to its full depth, while the Egyptians were fleeing into it. So the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. Now the waters returned and covered the chariots, the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. Not so much as one of them remained. But the children of Israel had walked on dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. So the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Thus Israel saw the great work which the Lord had done in Egypt. So the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. So this is the full meal deal. This is when the children of Israel were born. This is the breaking of the water. Now, many of you don't realize that this is expanded upon in the New Testament. What I just said is quite simply beyond contestation. The problem is, you must realize, once they crossed that sea, once they had been born, you need to realize that it was then that the Lord their God pruned them. He pruned them. Because we found out yesterday that in John chapter 15, Jesus is the vine, but the Ancient of Days is the vine dresser. Praise God. Praise God. We know he weeded out the rebellious. Oh, yes, he did. Take note, these things are true. These things are absolutely true. This is how you're going to spend the 3.5 years of the tribulation. You're not going to be pre-tribulation raptured. You're going to be pre-tribulation relocated. That's what's going to happen. Now, we're going to go ahead and go to the New Testament and read those 13 verses because we're not even 10 minutes yet. The sun is still up, and the Spirit moves, praise God. Let him move. Let the Spirit drive me along like a wind, even like he drove the Red Sea back, praise God. What I just said is beyond contestation. Now I'm going to prove it to you. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 1 through 13. What I just said is beyond contestation. I'll prove it to you. Verse 1, New King James Version. Moreover, brethren, I do not want you to be unaware that our fathers were under the cloud, all passed through the sea. All were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. All ate the same spiritual food. All drank the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock and that followed them, and that rock was Christ. Stop the bus. Stop the bus. Remember, Joshua in Hebrew is Joshua. However, Joshua in Greek is Jesus. Now take note. They did not enter the promised land by Moses. This just said something else entirely different, didn't it? So, moving forward, he's going to tell you, now look, the Ancient of Days he's the vine dresser. You're not allowed to marry God the Son if you're unclean or if you're unchaste. So he's going to prune you. He's going to prune you during the tribulation, just like he pruned the children of Israel during the 40 years. Now, I'm going to keep reading it, okay? Verse 5. But most of them but most of them God was not well pleased, for their bodies were scattered in the wilderness, praise God. Now, Revelation chapter 12 states that how these people are going to be dealt with is just like during the New Madrid earthquake series. Yeah, the ground's just going to open them up and swallow it, just like it did Korah's rebellion, Numbers chapter 16. Anyway, verse 6. Now these things became our examples to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted, and not become idolaters as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Nor let us commit sexual immorality, as some of them did, and in one day 23,000 fell. Take note, this is a prophetic witness that the birth pains are 2,300 days. Anyway, verse 9, nor let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed by serpents. Now, all these things happened to them as examples, and they were written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the ages have come. Okay, stop the bus. He just said it. He said these things were examples for us for the end of the age. Praise God. He just come right out and told us. Verse 12, therefore, let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. I'm telling you, you better not enter into the place prepared having not been born again. I mean, I don't know how I can phrase that. You only want to enter this time. You only want to enter the pillar of the presence if you've been born again. Because this just said, you're going to be tempted. Anyway, verse 12. Therefore, let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. Just like they did in the 40 years. So, this message at this point is beyond contestation. This is what's coming. And like I said, I'm hoping that Jesus Christ was crucified in 30 AD, because if he was, the 2,300 days started February the 9th, 2024. And things are going to get ugly come October the 1st, 2026. So if this edified you, if it encouraged you, if it got you excited, please bear fruit with it. Like, share, subscribe, comment. You can even write down your prayer that you pray for this ministry or for the lost, the other people who will see and hear this message. Write down a prayer. Type your prayer in the comments. Please bear fruit. In order to bear fruit, you must be born again. Please, you need to be born again. Till next time, God bless. Godspeed.